First and foremost, going to give call law, Yahweh Shem Yahshai. That's all praise to the Heavenly Father. In the name of his only begotten Son, who the word called Jesus Christ, he's a priest, Yahs, by the San Diego set, a Shakori, right? Back at it again with another lesson, man. Dealing with salvation, right? I'm going to get into some certain angles that brothers and sisters could go into dealing with salvation, right? Of course, you want to go for the, for the juggler, and I'm a man of that cloth myself, you feel me? But try to give y'all brothers, or going to give you brothers and sisters some edifications on different angles you could use, different questions you could bring up, right, to Christians, Catholics, apologists, right, to those, I would say foundations, brittle and weak and stubble and just, a hell of a destruction into our people, doctrine that believe that if you're a believer of Christ, you're saved. Or, again, if you're dealing with a low-level Christian, they'll go to John 3:16, which is something that you brothers and sisters can break down immaculately, man. I'm talking about to the T. And if you can't, make sure you brothers go to Sakari, YouTube, and search John 3:16, right? And get the breakdowns, man. Right, but we're going to first go to the book of Luke, chapter 1, right? Brothers and sisters, man, y'all want to deal with, staying one-on-one, man. Stay one-on-one with the Christians, Catholics, apologists, Baptists, Lutherans, Protestants, etc., man. Stay one-on-one. Because one-on-one is like it's like a mean, I'm talking about Larry Home type of jab, man. Very, concise, precise, right? Right on the button, right? I'm talking about get your head to snap back, and get you to blink a couple times before you think about moving forward again, right? So, yeah, we're going to start at Luke chapter 1, verse 68. It says, "Blessed be Yahweh God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began, that we, the Israelites," right? God's chosen people, those that he's going to redeem. It says that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us, right? Now, I'm going to bring out a precept, right? Because, there's something about your precepts, man. I like bringing out precepts to show you, where you brothers and sisters could go, man, to show and prove, look, these are our enemies, right? This is what our enemies have done unto us. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, starting from the top. It says, "Keep not thou silence, O God, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head," right? So we see here, these are the enemies of God, which are the enemies of the Israelites, right? And these are the people that hate God because of the things that they have done to the Israelites, which is curse us, right? The Israelites being the so-called Negroes, Hispanic, Native Indians, right? And the children are scattered abroad, also over there, on the Eastern Hemisphere, dealing with, with the West Africas. We got brothers in Portugal, Spain, right? We got brothers in Asia, brothers and sisters in Asia. So we're scattered people, man. So these are the Most High God's enemies, and right, since we are the firstborn to Israel, right, due to Exodus 4, right, the nation of Israel, they're also our enemies as well, right? Verse 3 in Psalms 83, "They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thine hidden ones. They have said, Come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." And that's what your enemies will do to you, man. They'll take your culture from you, your language from you, your deity from you, your land from you, right? They'll paint your forefathers and your foremothers white. They'll paint your God white. They'll paint your king, your savior, white, right? Only your enemies will do that. Only your enemies will take your rightful name away and call you African American, call you Jamaican, call you Haitian, Dominican, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Peruvian, Brazilian, Argentinian, Chilean, Native Indian, Seminole Indian, etc., man. Only your enemies will do that, because the enemies of the Most High God, the enemies of the Israelites, understand that if they continuously keep us away from who we are, right? From learning who we are and understanding and acknowledging who we are, that they can stay in power. And that's how they have stayed in power, man, right? By continuously being our enemy and consulting with one another. That they'll make that it says that let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembrance. Only your enemies will do that. So the importance of salvation, what salvation is that you being saved out of the hand of your enemies and all those that hate you, right? Verse 5 in Psalms 83, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, being the so-called Caucasians, right? The Americans, the British, the French, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the Spanish, right? And the Ishmaelites, which is the so-called Arabs, right? And the Hagareans, a Hamitic tribe, Gabal, another Hamitic tribe, and Ammon, the Japanese, and Amalek. Amalek are who you would consider the people who call themselves Jewish that live in the land of Israel right now, right? Which is the people who financed the Atlantic slave trade, right? And put your forefathers and foremothers on cargo ships over from the western shores of Africa over here to the eastern shores of America, right? And vice versa, dealing with the native Indians, the Seminole Indians, the Taino, the Arawak, the Aztec, the Mayan, the Incas. They also took our Northern Kingdom brothers from what we call the Americas over back into West Africa, to Spain, to Portugal, to certain parts of Asia, and also certain islands, right, off the coast of Africa or off the coast of the three parts over there on the eastern hemisphere, right? It says the Philistines, which are the Egyptians, and we understand what the Egyptians did unto us. We understand what the Philistines did unto us, right? It says, which is what they would call an Egyptian tribe, right? According to this, let me get it real quick. Bear with me. Right. Right, dealing with Mizraim, right? Which when you go into the word Egypt in the Hebrew is Matazarium, or in the Greek is Mitzrayim, right? Genesis 10:6, it says, and the sons of Ham, which is what we call the so-called Africans, right? Cush being the Ethiopians, and Mitzrayim, right? And then when you jump to verse 13, it says, and Mitzrayim begat Ledim and Ananam, or an Anamim, right? And Lahabim and Nefut Tuum, right? And Patharism and Kasluhim. It says, and out of whom came Philistim, right? Which are the Philistines, right? Back in Psalms 83 and 7, Gabal, right? Again, Hamitic tribe, Ammon, Japanese, Amalek, who would call themselves Israelis or Jewish, right? The Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre, the Canaanites, right? Assur also is joined with them. They have Hopelin, the children of Lot, right? Salah, right? So we see that, again, those are the enemies of God, and those are the people that we need to be saved from. That's what salvation is. You being saved out of the hand of your enemies, right? Precepts is the book of Nehemiah, right? To show and prove that, precept upon precept, as Isaiah 28:10 says. This is the book of Nehemiah, chapter 9, right? And again, these is one-on-one, man. Again, stay in your one-on-one, and I promise you that jab, it'll be sharp, it'll work. That's what wins a fight, your jab, right? So brothers and sisters got to use their jab, right? That's how you keep your opponent at bay, and that's how you land your punches, right? And you land combinations off your jabs, and that's what we're showing, man, right? Showing here that these are the combinations that you can use to defeat your opponent. Nehemiah 9, And started in verse 27. Therefore thou deliverest them into the hand of their enemies. So we were delivered into the hand of our in the hand of our enemies when we were rebelled and we backslid from the Most High Yahweh. It says, who vexed them in the time of their trouble, when they cried unto thee, thou heardest them from heaven, and according to thy manifold mercies thou givest them saviors who saved them out of the hand of their enemies. So that is salvation, being saved out of the hand of our enemies. Your enemies, Psalms 83. That's where you find who your enemies are, so-called Negro, Hispanic, Native Indians, right? Remember that, Psalms 83. This is the book of Ezra, right? Chapter 4. And we're going to go from the top, right? Because, and I go here to show that, look, our forefathers, even during the time, even before the time of Yahushua, they didn't want to consult with the heathen. They didn't want nothing to do with them. They didn't want nobody dealing with the building of the temple or the tabernacle of the Most High Yahweh. They didn't want to be integrated with these people, right? This is Nehemiah, or Salakia, Ezra chapter 4 from the top. Now when the adversaries of Judah, and we see it says adversaries of Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of the captivity builded the temple unto Yahweh, God of Israel, then came to Zerubbabel and to the chief of the fathers and said unto them, let us build with you, for we seek your God as ye do, and we do sacrifice unto him since the days of Esar-Haddon, king of Assur. And we see, look, these are people, Assur, an enemy of God, who sacrificed unto the Most High Yahweh, right? Being our enemies, right? It says, which brought us up hither, but Zerubbabel and Jeshua and the rest of the chief of the fathers of Israel said unto them, you have nothing to do with us to build an house unto our God, but we ourselves together will build unto Yahweh, God of Israel, as King Cyrus, the king of Persia, hath commanded us. Then the people, verse 4, it says, then the people of the land weakened the hands, Salakia, weakened the hands of the people of Judah and troubled them in building, right? It says, and hired counselors against them to frustrate their purpose all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, even until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. And we see that only your enemies will do that, man, right? And that's what happened during the time over here, in the Americas, right? Dealing with the tribe of Judah. When the tribe of Judah separated and segregated themselves from the so-called Caucasian and built up Black Wall Street, right? Tulsa, Oklahoma, built up L.A., right? Built up certain cities in Georgia, right? They separated themselves to build their own nation. And you know what the so-called Caucasian did? They came in with KKK members, right? In Greenwood, Oklahoma, Tulsa, right? Black Wall Street came in with 25,000 KKK members, military service soldiers, right? Napalmed them, blew up hospitals, libraries, the transportation buildings, educational buildings, homes, right? I want to say the statistics show that they killed 300 so-called Negroes, right, from the tribe of Judah. That's what your enemies do, man. When we see here, even again, before the time of Yahushua, we ain't got nothing to do with you. And you ain't got nothing to do with our God and building the temple into our power, right? And it goes right along with Yahushua dealing with Matthew 15, right? Where he says, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And he gave that damn Canaanite woman a crumb. He didn't give her salvation, because who did she need to be saved from? Yahushua Mashiach walked into the land of Tyre and Zidon. They had their own civilization. They had their own communities. They had their own treasurers. They had their own, quote unquote, or storehouses, quote unquote, banks, right? Businesses, etc. They had their own little get down going. And Mashiach Yahushua was sent into the lost sheep of the house of Israel, such as he sent his disciples out unto them as well, right? So we see here, this is a place that brothers and sisters go to say, look, we don't want nothing to do with anybody building the temple into our God, or dealing with us, or even dealing with the Most High God, Yahweh, the power of Israel, That's even before the time in Mashiach Yahushua. And I'm going to show you another area, brothers and sisters, to go to show, look, man, I don't even want to look at a man or woman of another nation, or even deal with them, right? I'm going to show you another record or another recording, Salakia, right? This is 2 Kings chapter 5. And we're going to start at verse 7. Or we'll start at verse 1. Right? It says, now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria. It says he was a great man, right? Was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him Yahweh had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. So we see, look, Most High gave deliverance, right, unto Syria, a different nation, right? But is that in totality the salvation that the nation of Israel is going to get? No. Because nowhere do we see after this the Syrians ruling the entire earth and people following after them and their God and learning the law, statutes, and commandments of their God. That's nowhere there, right? But this man was an honorable man, right? But a leper. Right? Verse 2, it says, and the Syrians had gone out by companies and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, so a woman. It says, and she waited on Naaman's wife, and she said unto her mistress, would God, my Lord, were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. And one went in and told his Lord, saying, thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. So this man he's got gifts together, right, to go into this prophet that's in Samaria, right, that can heal him of his leprosy, right? It says, verse 6. It says, and he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. Right? So now Naaman's going to be sent with all these gifts. Right? It says, and it came to pass, verse 7, and it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man doeth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? So this letter was sent to the king of Israel. And he's like, yo, I can't do nothing for him. I'm not God. I'm not the Most High. I can't kill. I can't make alive. I can't heal. Right? Verse 7 says, and it came to pass when the king of Israel had read the letter that he rent his clothes and said, am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man doeth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how you seeketh a quarrel against me. And it was so when Elisha, the man of God, had heard. So the man of God, Elisha, right? A man that prayed for double portion of the spirit that Elijah, the prophet, had, right? A righteous man, Elijah, and a righteous man, Elisha. He heard this, right? It says that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Elisha heard this, sent messages unto him. It's like, and to ask him, why would you rent your clothes, man? Just send that man over yonder, right? It says, verse 9, it says, so Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. So he came to Elisha's crib, front door, right? Seeking the prophet, the man of God, Elisha, to heal him of his leprosy. Right? Verse 10, it says, and Elisha sent a messenger unto him. So Elisha is in the crib, right? Elisha sent a messenger unto this man, Naaman, right? Saying, go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt become clean. And we see that in another recording. Elisha didn't even bother to greet this man, right? Ask him his full name. Ask him how he's doing, right? Asking him about his war tactics, his war stories, victories. Hey man, you want to go get it? You know, I got some drink, I got some food for you. You want to sit down, eat? Elisha ain't do none of that. All Elisha did was sent the message unto him to say, hey man, go into the Jordan River, right, and wash yourself 7 times, right? It says, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. But Naaman was wroth. So Naaman got pissed off, right? He's starting to have a fit, a childish fit, start pouting, right? It says, and went away and said, behold, I thought he would surely come out to me and stand. So he's thinking that the man of the Most High Yahweh, great man, righteous man, Elisha, was going to stop doing what he was doing to come meet this man in the flesh to say this. It says, and call on the name of Yahweh, his God. So we see Naaman is talking hot mess, right? I thought this dude was going to come out and call on the name of Yahweh, his God. Now he's testing Elisha's pedigree, man. He's testing the power that was given unto him by Yahweh, right? He's mocking this man, right? Also mocking the Most High, right? It says, and call in the name of Yahweh his God, and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? So now he's starting to talk mess about our land, man. You so-called Negroes, Native Indians land, the land of Israel. He's saying the rivers in Damascus is better than the rivers of Israel, right? Which is the Jordan River, right? It says, may I not wash in them and be clean? So he's like, if all I got to do is go take a shower, I'm going to go to rivers, man. My rivers is better than yours. If that's all it takes to be clean, I could just go there and be clean, right? And it says, so he turned and went away in rage. So again, he went off pouting, pissed off that Elisha didn't come out of his house to come greet him and meet him in person and do what he wanted him to do, right? So here's another recording showing our people, man. We have blessed, these nations, and we understand through the history and recording of the readings that we have that all these nations have done unto us was curses and hate us, right? There's no hate here dealing with Elisha telling this man, hey, go dunk yourself in the Jordan River 7 times, you'll be clean. Right, verse 13 in 2 Kings 5, and it says, and his servants came near and spake unto him and said, my father, if the prophet had been thee to do some great. So like, if the prophet had bid thee to do some great thing, wouldst thou not have done it? How much rather then when he saith to thee, wash and be clean? Listen, so his servants got in his ear. It was like, come on, man, like, this is a great thing that this prophet is telling you to do, right? Like, even if he's saying, hey, go over there and wash yourself and you'll be clean, why not do it? Right? So verse 14 says, then he went down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. Verse 15, and he returned to the man of God, which is Elisha, he and all his company, and came and stood before him. Right? So now they seeing him now. Right? So after he went to go wash himself and make himself clean, now Elisha is in the flesh. Right? Now let's see the type of energy that this man has towards Elisha after he was made clean, after washing himself 7 times in the Jordan River. Verse 15, he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him, and he said, behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. So now he's upping Israel now. It says, now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. But he said, Elisha said, as Yahweh liveth, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. Right? So he's urging Elisha, like, nah, man, come on, man. Like, I got some gifts for you, man. Like, I appreciate it. Like, good looking out. Right? But Elisha's like, nah, man. As Yahweh lives, man, hey, go about your business, bruh. Right? Verse 17 says, Naaman says, shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules burden of earth? For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto Yahweh. And this thing Yahweh pardon thy servant. And when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow down myself in the house of Rimmon, Yahweh pardon thy servant in this thing. And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. Right? So after saying all that, Elisha's like, man, go in peace, man. I'm out. Right? He just turned his back on him. Hey, in other words, you're welcome, fool. Right? Now we're gonna get the book of Isaiah chapter 10, right? So even though Elisha did these acts, right, had this man cleansed by telling him simple steps as in going into the great river, right, Jordan, and wash himself 7 times and he became clean. Even though Elisha did that, right, he didn't give salvation unto Syria. He didn't say, now comes salvation to Syria because you're coming to give me gifts, right? So let's see what's going to happen to the Assyrians or what we call the Syrians, right? This is the book of Isaiah chapter 10. And I'll read it from the top. It says, Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which it says which they have prescribed, to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. And what will you do in the day of visitation, and in the desolation which shall come from far? To whom will ye flee for help? And where will ye leave your glory? Without me, they shall bow down under the prisoners, and they shall fall under the slain. For all this, his anger is not turned away, but his hand is stretched out still. Right? So now we're going to see, look, verse 5, it says, O Assyrian, the rod of my anger, and the staff, it says, and the staff in their hand is my indignation. We see the Most High using other nations to judge us. But let's see what happens, right? Let's see what happens at the end of the day. Salakia. We'll keep reading. Verse 6, it says, I will send him against an hypocritical nation, and against the people of my wrath will I give him a charge to take the spoil, and to take the prey, and to tread them down like the mere of the streets. Howbeit he meaneth not so, neither doeth his heart think so, but it is in his heart to destroy and cut off nations, not a few. For he saith, Are not my princes altogether kings? Is not Calno and Carchemish? Is not Hamath as Arpad? Is not Samaria as Damascus? As my hand hath found the kingdoms of the idols, in whose graven images did excel them of Jerusalem and of Samaria, shall I not, as I have done unto Samaria and her idols, so do to Jerusalem and her idols? Wherefore it shall come to pass that when Yahweh hath performed his whole work upon Mount Zion and on Jerusalem, I will punish the fruit of the stout heart of the king of Assyria, and the glory of his high looks. For he said, By the strength of my hand I have done it, and by my wisdom, for I am prudent, and I have removed the bonds of the people, and have robbed their treasures, and I have put down the inhabitants like a valiant man. So the Most High is like, oh, so you think you did all this yourself, huh? You think you got all the treasures, all the good, took the land, kicked my people out of the land of Israel, or I would select it, destroy them, right? Punish them. You think that you did this according to your own power? So for these nations that think that they have done all these things according to their own power and not acknowledging the Most High for allowing what has happened, Most High God said, I'm going to punish you for that, for thinking that you was hot stuff. You thought that you was him, right? When the Most High God, Yahweh, is saying, I am him. I'm the existing one. I am, right? He is, right? So we see here The Most High God punishes nations, man. Even after having them even after giving them deliverance from their enemies, Most High God still punishes them, right? And we see that him delivering them from their enemies, it's all a part of the script, man. It's all a part of the movie script, right? So now let's go to another recording, man, right? We're going to get the book of Matthew, chapter 15, right? Good one-on-one. Chapter 15, starting at verse, we'll start at verse 21, right? So we see Elisha send a messenger out, tell that man, Naaman, hey, man, go enjoy the river, deck yourself, watch yourself. Sometimes you be clean, you be straight. Naaman went to talking hot stuff, right? Mocking the Most High, mocking Elisha, wanted to go clean himself, and then now he wanted to come back with gifts. Now he wanted to be cool, right? Now he wanted to act like everything was straight. And Elisha was like, man, go on your way, man. Go in peace. I don't want nothing that you got to offer me, right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 15, starting at 21. It says, then Yahushua went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Zidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. So this woman, this Canaanite woman, knew that Mashiach Yahushua was the son of David, that he was the Messiah. Let's see what the Mashiach Yahushua does. Right? Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciple, same as Elisha, he didn't talk to the Naaman. He sent a messenger to go have this man clean or select cleansed. He didn't go out and call on the name of the Lord, right? And cleanse this man. He told him, you go in that river that's better than your rivers in weak Damascus, and clean yourself, right? Gave him a crumb, such as Yahushua Mashiach here is going to give this woman a crumb. He's not giving her salvation to rule the earth, right? So we're going to see what Yahushua does. It says he didn't answer her a word, and then we're going to see what he does afterward. And then we're going to see the judgment of her and her people, right? It says, verse 23, but he answered her not a word, and his disciples came and besought him, saying, send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So we see this is the message out of Mashiach Yahushua's mouth, that he was only sent into the lost sheep of the house of Israel, such as his disciples were, such as he sent his disciples out to. That was his mission. So this is why he didn't answer that Canaanite woman a word, right? Verse 25, it says, then came she, so she comes again. It says, and worshipped him. Same thing. I'm going to show you something, right? In the eschaton, when we get into the kingdom of Yahweh, right, when we get back to the land of Israel, the 12 tribes of Yasha'Allah, the 12 tribes of Israel, this is what these nations are going to do, man. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 8, starting at verse 22. It says, yeah, many people and strong nations shall come to seek Yahweh of hosts in Jerusalem and pray before Yahweh. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, in those days it shall come to pass that 10 men shall take hold out of all languages of the nations, even shall take hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew, saying, we will go with you, for we have heard that God was with you. And this Canaanite woman knew that the Most High God was with the Mashiach Yahushua. She knew that he was the Messiah, he was the son of David, and she came to hold the skirt of a Jew, man, to be healed, not to receive salvation, right? Verse 25 in Matthew 15, then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. And she said, truth, Yahweh. So now she understands her possession. You're true. That is true, right? I'm a dog. I know that this bread, right, that's given, the children's bread that's given into the nation of Yashala, it's not supposed to be cast to the dogs, man. This salvation is not supposed to be cast to the dogs, right? This is why in Baruch 4 it says, give not thou, I'll read it. Baruch 4, right? Give not thou glory unto a strange nation. I want to say it says, Salakia. I'm going to read it, make sure I ain't butchering scripture, right? Baruch chapter 4. In verse 3, give not thine honor, Salah, give not thine honor to another, nor the things that are profitable, such as salvation, it says, profitable unto thee to a strange nation. So we're not supposed to give that. And Yahweh Shai knew that. Yahweh Shai knew his mission, and he knew the whole get down, right? Yahweh Shai had the spirit without measure, man. So he understood. Right, verse 25 in Matthew 15. Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, it is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs. And she said, truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which falleth from their master's table. Then Yahushua answered and said unto her, O woman, great is thy faith. Be it unto thee, even as thou wilt. And her daughter was made whole from, it says, from that very hour. Her daughter was made whole. Right? Of her being vexed with the devil. That's not salvation. That's not ruling the earth. This does not show or oversee the prophecy that Yahweh has put into place for the Canaanite nation. Let's see the prophecy that was put into place, the judgment that was put into place for the Canaanite nation. Right? This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 14. And we're going to give verse Salakia. We're going to start at verse 19. It says, this shall be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of all nations that come not up to keep the Feast of Tabernacles. In that day shall there be upon the bills of the horses holiness unto Yahweh, and the pots in Yahweh's house shall be like the bowls before the altar. Yeah, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Yahweh of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and see it therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of Yahweh of hosts. So there ain't gonna be no Canaanites in the land of Israel, man. In the house of Yahweh, right? That's the judgment for these Canaanites, man, right? So we got to understand what salvation is. Salvation is being saved out of the hand of your enemies, man, right? Let's get another recording. He went through the land of Tyre, Zidon, did not give them salvation. Let's see who salvation was given unto. Again, I'm not sent but to a lost sheep of the house of Israel. But let's see the individual, right? An Israelite man, right? This is the book of Luke, chapter 19, and starting at verse 1. And Yahushua entered and passed through Jericho, and behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. People that are called publicans, right, are people that the Jews in Jerusalem, in Israel, they didn't deal with them. They didn't consult with them. They didn't hang out with them, right? When you read Matthew 18, you have an all with your brother. You come to him first. He doesn't hear you. You bring 2 or 3 witnesses. You don't hear them. You bring him to the church. He neglects that. Then you cast him off as a what? As a publican or a heathen. Meaning you listen, man, I'm not dealing with you, right? You're going to be treated as the heathen, right? And we see how Elisha treated the heathen. We see how Yahushua treated the heathen. Yes, they healed them, right, of what they asked for, what they were seeking for. But guess what? After that, they turned and went on their mission, man, right? And ministering to the nation of Yasha, right? Verse 3, it says, and he sought to see Yahushua who he was, and could not for the priest, because he was little of stature. And he ran before and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was passed that way. For he was to pass that way. And when Yahushua came to the place, he looked up and saw him and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. So Yahushua said, hey, man, come off of that tree, man. Today, I'm abiding in your house. I'm going to your crib, right? We finna go kick it at your crib, right? Verse 6, and he says, and he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be a guest with a man that is a sinner, right? Man that is a sinner, right? It says, and Zacchaeus stood, right? Because dealing with the publicans, they did taxes, took money from the Jews, etc., right? Verse 8, and Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor. And if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Yahushua said unto him, this day is salvation come to this house, for so much as he also is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and save that which is lost. That is the point. Save the, oh, look, see, he's the son of Abraham. Abraham had many sons. He had many children. It says, it's verse 10, for the Son of Man, which is Yahushua, is come to seek and to save that which was lost. If they want to play a game with Abraham and sons, this is where you go, the book of Luke, chapter 13. The book of Luke, chapter 13, we're going to start at verse 22, right? It says, and when he had removed him, he raised up unto them David to be their king, to whom also he gave testimony and said, I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after mine own heart, which hath fulfilled all my will. Of this man's seed hath God, according to his promise, raised unto Israel a Savior, Yahushua. When John had first preached before his coming, the baptism of repentance to all the people of Israel. Not everybody, the people of Israel. And it says, and as John fulfilled his course, he said, whom think ye I am? I am not he. Behold, but behold, there cometh one after me, whose shoes of his feet I am not worthy to loose. Men and brethren, children of the stock of Abraham, stock, not stocks, stock of Abraham, and whosoever among you feareth God, to you is the word of this salvation sent, right? And we understand the word of salvation sent was unto the nation of Israel, man, right? This is another recording, right? Dealing with how the Most High dealt. He dealt with other nations, used other nations such as the Assyrians to put punishments on Israel, but at the end of the day, the Most High punished the Assyrians. Same thing with the man when you go into the book of Numbers, chapter 22, right? Verses 5, verses 5, right? This man Balaam was the son of Beor. When you look into that man Beor, he comes from the nation of Edom. He's an Edomite. So this was a man that the Most High used, right, to not curse the nation of Israel, because as the text shows that the nation of Israel is a blessed nation, right? This is Numbers 22, starting at verse 5. It says, he sent messengers therefore unto Balaam, the son of Beor, to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call him, saying, behold, there's a people come out from Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth. Salakia. And they abide over against me. Now come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. So this Moabite is asking this Edomite messenger to curse the people of Israel, right? It says, for they are too mighty for me, peradventure I shall prevail that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For what that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. And the elders of Moab and the elders of Midian departed with the rewards of divination in their hand. And they came unto Balaam, and spake unto him the words of Balak. And he said unto them, lodge here this night, and I will bring you word again, as Yahweh shall speak unto me. And the princes of Moab abode with Balaam. And God came unto Balaam, and said, what men are these with thee? And Balaam said unto God, Balak the son of Zippor, king of Moab, has sent unto me, saying, behold, there is a people come out of Egypt, which covered the face of the earth. Come now, curse me them. Peradventure I shall be able to overcome them and drive them out. And God said unto Balaam, thou shalt not go with them. Thou shalt not curse the people, for they are blessed. And Balaam rose up in the morning and said unto the princes of Balak, get you into your land, for Yahweh refuseth to give me leave to go with you. Right? It's verse 14. And the princes of Moab rose up, and they went unto Balak and said, Balaam refused to come with us. And Balak sent yet again princes more and more honorable than they. And they came to Balaam and said unto him, Thus saith Balak the son of Zippor, Let nothing, I pray thee, hinder thee from coming unto me. For I will promote thee unto very great honor, and I will do whatsoever thou sayest unto me. Come, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people. And Balaam answered and said unto the servants of Balak, If Balak would give me his house full of silver and gold, I cannot go beyond the word of Yahweh my God to do less or more. So we see this man, right, are doing what the Most High God told him to do, this Edomite. Does that mean that this man is going to receive salvation? No. Why? Jeremiah 8, right? Jeremiah chapter 8. We see certain men such as King Cyrus, the king of Cyrus, right? Or King Cyrus, this Balaam, this Edomite, doing the things that the Most High commanded him to do. Most High uses whomever so he will. But he only gives salvation to one particular nation, and that's the nation of Israel, right? And this is why these nations will not receive salvation. Jeremiah 8, right? Just because one did something that was good and right, don't mean the entire nation is going to receive salvation. Right? Jeremiah chapter 8 and Salak, I think it's Jeremiah 18 and 8. Salakia. Jeremiah chapter 18. I'll start at verse 7. It says, at what instant I shall speak concerning a nation and concerning a kingdom to pluck up and to pull down and to destroy it. Verse 8, if that nation against whom I have pronounced turn from their evil, I will repent of the evil that I thought to do unto them. But they didn't do that. Ezekiel chapter 25. Chapter 25, verse 12, right? It says, Thus saith Yahweh God, because that Edom hath dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance and have greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh God, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom and will cut off man and beast from it and will make it desolate from Teman, and they of Dedan shall fall by the sword. And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people Israel, and they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith Yahweh. Another precept showing the judgment that's going to be done unto the nation of Edom, the Edomites, Esau. Obadiah 1 and starting at verse 10. It says, For thy violence against thy brother Jacob shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Right? It says, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast one of them. So we see as a totality, as a whole nation, that they were one of them that destroyed Jerusalem, that had their hand in spoiling Jerusalem, that had their hand in killing the Israelites, man, with no pity, with no sympathy, right? That slaughtered them, man. Right? So we see that the Most High God got a judgment for them. And a judgment is going to happen. That saith Yahweh. Why? Because the Most High's word doesn't come back void, man. Right? So you brothers and sisters, Lord willing, y'all was edified. Lord willing, you know, y'all put these combinations into your, you know, boxing, mixed martial arts, you know, whatever combat sport that you into, chambers, man, right? So, you know, like I said, Lord willing, you brothers and sisters was edified, man, and have a beautiful night. If it's nighttime, you watch this. Have a beautiful day. If it's daytime, you watch this. But we'll be back with more lessons, man, and you know, stay in the spirit. Keep grinding, man. Keep studying to give an answer. Keep reading this book, right? Brothers should have, I'm talking about arsenals of stuff, man. Your Smith and Wesson on you, your fofo, what they call it, the Glock 43X. Have some, you know, and then you could go to your 357, your mag, your AR, whatever you want to call it, man. Right? But be sure that your brothers and sisters are fully equipped, right, with the one-on-ones, man, on proving that salvation is only given to the nation of Israel. And with that, I'm going to give a call on him, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Mashiach Yahushai, and say shalom.